Hello everyone, my name's Kylotl, and welcome back to another Limbus Company Patch Notes Breakdown. This time, we've got two new units. We've got 7 Association Heathcliff and 7 Association Faust. And we've also got some minor changes in the patch. We've got the introduction of the daily attendance assignment that will be giving us the Molar office identities, and we've also got some new information about how Refraction Railway 2 is going to differ from Refraction Railway 1. So let's just hop into it with the first of the two units. The 2-star 7 Association Heathcliff.
현장 자료들을 볼 때 이번 사건에 대한 결론은 생각했었는데 기다려봐. 이런 것들 처리하는 일이 당연히 훨씬 쉽지. 머리 쓸 일도 없잖아. 뭐 그렇다고 사건 분석하는 게 싫은 건 아니고 나름 재밌어 이것도.
7 Association South Section 4 Heathcliff. You can see is the previous 7 Association units had a little bit of like a split focus. While they did primarily focus on certain damage types, they also had a minor bit of rupture. Most notable on 7 Otis was stuff like her skill 2 having some rupture count on it. But in the other two 7 Association units, 7 Yisung and 7 Ryoshu had minor amounts of rupture on their skill 1s. So it never was really like a main focus, it was more so like a secondary small thing. But here you can absolutely see they're focusing a lot more on the rupture side of 7 Association. In fact, there's very little regarding weaknesses here beyond his passives. But let's just get started with his skills. His skill 1, Intuition, is a 2-coin / Wrath skill. If target is X plus Rupture coin power plus Y, and with both the coins, it inflicts Rupture on hit and even more Rupture on heads hit. Now, do keep in mind, because of the fact that Uptie 4 does exist now, there's a decent chance some of this is locked behind Uptie 4. So if you aren't planning to, uptie all your units to 4 and just want to get them to 3, which is usually a good baseline, then you might not get all these effects there. Most likely, the actual coin power is probably locked by either the coin power one is locked behind Uptie 4, or it's going to be the heads hit inflict rupture. It's one of the two, most likely, since those do seem like the most bonus effects. But overall, this seems like a very high infliction of rupture for skill 1. At minimum 4 rupture at Uptie 4, since it'll both coins will inflict 1 rupture and additional 1 rupture baseline on heads hit, which becomes even more insane when you factor in his passive, but we'll get to that. Next up is skill 2, it's Pierce attack, single coin envy skill, the wrap up. On clash when inflicted rupture count, and on hit with the coin you inflict rupture count and defense level down. So this is just basically his main way of inflicting some rupture count, making it so that if you win the clash with a single coin skill, which means it'll be a pretty decent chance of winning a clash, it'll definitely have a high roll, although it will be a little sanity dependent. But I feel like this sounds like a decent way to get some rupture count going. You're definitely gonna have to rely, for rupture count you kinda have to rely on either Rosespan or Gregor, Red Sheet Sinclair, or one of the Dimension Shredder egos. But with the 7 Association team, you will have one of the Dimension Shredder egos by default thanks to Yisung, although his isn't as good for rupture as Honglu's is. But this will just make it so he can help sustain the rupture a little bit, especially when combined with, say, EU Gifts and Mirror Dungeons. But then his skill 3, Forensics, is a 4-coin / Gluttony skill. If target has X plus Rupture, coin power plus Y. Now, once again, that part's probably going to be an Uptie 4 thing, but this is a 4-coin skill. So there's a decent chance it is only going to be like a +1, a +2, and this coin power from target having Rupture is the only way this is going to get some decent rolls. But all of these coins inflict Rupture, the first one on hit, the second through 4th on heads hit, and if you kill with the 4th coin, you inflict Rupture count against the enemy with the lowest Rupture count. Now, of course, like some other units, stuff like Grips and Claire's skill 3 and Liu Ishmael's skill 3, this only triggers if you get a kill with the 4th coin. If you kill before the 4th coin even starts, then it just won't trigger this effect. Otherwise, it would have the on-kill before the actual skill instead of on one of the particular coins. So this is probably not something you can get off too often, but when it is, that definitely seems like a pretty nice effect to get off, just to kind of get a little bit of rupture count started on the enemy that, well, needs the most rupture in order to die. Overall, a lot of super strong rupture stuff. And then we can get to his passive, Or I guess first off is defense. It's Wrath defense. There's nothing special there, it's just a normal guard skill. But his passive, Instinctive Read, when attacking a target with a damage type the target is fatal to, inflict +X rupture. So every single attack of his, such as his 4-coin skill 3, if it's hitting a weakness, it'll just inflict more rupture with every hit. And if there's 4 more surviving units that are 7 associated fixtures, even more rupture inflicted. Now, this part's definitely an up-tie 4 passive thing. Similar to how they did it for stuff like the Liu Association stuff and the N Corp stuff. A lot of this stuff where it depends on you using people of the same faction is up-tie 4. Although once again, I don't think I need to point out everything that I think is going to be up-tie 4. I'm just pointing it out now because of the fact that it still seems a little hard to read these if you are only assuming you're only going to get to up-tie 3 for these identities. But it's hard to tell exactly if this passive's if it needs to have the first condition to trigger the second condition. It's hard to tell, but if so, like, this is definitely a lot of rupture, and the support passive Connect the Dots is basically a similar thing, but it's applied to the ally with the highest max HP, and instead of requiring 4 or more 7 associated fixtures, if the person you target is a 7 associated fixture, they just do get the more rupture. So overall, this is a super rupture-heavy Sinner identity. The one down thing is going to be that he's going to have trouble keeping up rupture count, having a 4-coin skill 3 that doesn't have any rupture count on that one. But if you get something like Thunder Branch, you can definitely negate that issue. Of course, shouldn't rely on Yugis too much, but definitely a very silly-looking skill 2-star identity. But now, let's move on to the 3-star of this banner. 7 South Section 4, Faust.
어서 오세요. 주문은 이쪽에서 받겠습니다. 지금은 다른 임무를 진행 중입니다. 당신과 함께하는 차에 대한 잡담은 언제나 즐겁지만 잠시만 있다가 하도록 하죠. 임무는 성공적이었군요. 다음 카페 근무가 있어서 먼저 실례하죠.
7 South Section 4 Faust is, well, once again, another rupture unit, although this one's a little more standard for a 7 association unit, having some stuff to weaken enemies' defenses and whatnot. Starting out, Skill 1, Predictive Analysis, 2-coin/envy skill, coin power +X for every Y rupture on target. Now this is worded very interestingly because it doesn't say up to a max of Z or something, so it very well could just be the more rupture they have, the more coin power you gain. Now assumably there's going to be a cap, but it's not being said here, because if there's no cap for something like that, that's kind of insane. Or maybe it'll be like coin power +1 for every 5 rupture on target, something that's not too easy to trigger, but can be done if you just have enough rupture going on. And the second coin just inflicts some rupture on hit. Nothing too special, but that definitely sounds like it could be a very strong skill 1 against someone with a lot of rupture. Of course, it doesn't inflict much rupture to itself, which makes it kind of weak for the rupture build, but it's something. Her skill 2 is Dissect Target, 3-coin Gloom Slash skill. Coin power +X for every Y rupture on target, very similar to the skill 1, although this one's a 3-coin skill, so it's even more possibly powerful. Depending on what the X and Y are, it's harder to get a good sense of just how powerful the thing that is. On Clash Wind inflicts rupture count. It's nice to be able to get some rupture count off before you actually damage the targets. That's a really good thing. That's why this Clash Wind rupture count. I guess that is another thing to keep in mind about the rupture count inflicted by Heathcliff, is the fact that rupture count on Clash Wind means you inflict a rupture count before you hit them at all. So that if there's, let's say, 10 rupture with a 1 count, if you win the clash, it'll be brought up to a 10 rupture with a 2 count, and then you hit them. Therefore managing to keep their rupture count going for a little bit. And of course, the first coin inflicts some rupture, and the third coin inflicts weakness analyzed if the target has a certain amount of rupture. Now this is a status effect that was inflicted by 7 Otis's third skill. Now while the good thing about this here is it is only on a skill 2, so you can get it off more often, the target needs to have a certain amount of rupture, and it is on the third coin, so they're going to have a lot of rupture count before you use the skill to have any chance of getting it off. Otherwise, they're just going to run out of all their rupture count by the time you get to the third coin. So it could be good, that's for sure. Not the best, though. Just because of how situation that's weak to analyze might end up being. I guess it depends on how much rupture they have. If it's something like requires 3 plus rupture, then they'll pretty much always be able to get it if you get, say, like the battery. But then skill 3, profiling, 3 coins / gluttony skill. Unused deals 1% additional damage for every Y rupture on target. Well, I said 1%. Deals X% more damage for every Y rupture on target. Another one where we really need to see the numbers, see how powerful this could be. But this could be like, say, deal 5% more damage for every 5 rupture on target, something like that. And just allows you to get some pretty big damage buffs. And it's most likely going to be capped at something. Probably like 30% more damage. That's kind of what they tend to cap at usually. Clash Wind inflicts a rupture count, as mentioned before. Clash Wind inflicting rupture count, super good, because you can get the count up before you hit them at all. And skill 2, the second coin inflicts rupture, and if the third coin, after attack, if the target is staggered or defeated, gain haste and slash power up next turn. Decent thing. She's an entirely slash unit, so giving herself slash power ups is pretty good. And giving herself haste just to be faster is also just a nice little buff. Of course, if it's staggered or defeated is a lot more reasonable than just defeated. But it still requires the third coin to go off, which is easier for a 3-coin skill. It really depends on how much damage it deals and just how well it can do that. But it could be very interesting. And moving on to the defensive skill, it's a block that gains haste next turn on use. That's definitely not bad, being able to build up haste. Now, she doesn't really gain any necessarily benefits from speed beyond just, well, being fast. But it's still nice to be able to just get haste going. But then her passive, before the T cools, is a really interesting one. I like this a lot from the sound of it. When attacking with the damage type the target is weak or fatal to, gain 1 poise for each rupture on target before the attack. Something I'm going to notice here is the fact that they just straight up said 1 instead of saying X here. Like, I don't know if they've ever done this before. I definitely haven't noticed it. Have they put numbers in sometimes in the past? Like, or is it just because there's, like, no chance it's something different, so they've just decided to put the number in now? There's no reason for it to be something different? It's definitely very interesting. But, of course, this does mean... This isn't any poise count, but this is a very good use of poise because of the fact that... Well, it's just kind of little damage bonus. That's all it is. No poise count gain. But effectively, if the target's got, say, 20 rupture, every single attack that you do on someone that is making use of their weakness is going to be a guaranteed crit. And of course, you could definitely pair this with some stuff like Poise Ego Gift, stuff like that. More ability to gain Poise through, say, support passive, stuff like that. To result in just a lot of, like, Poise out of nowhere. Just for more damage. Instead of being focused around Poise, it just synergizes with the Rupture so well. That is what I'd call a cool passive. We'll have to see just how easy it is to trigger. Hopefully it'll just be based on, like, whatever owned. Hopefully it won't be a resonance. If it's a resonance, it may be kind of doomed a little bit. Depending on what the resonance of. If it is a resonance, it'll probably be Gluttony, which will be pretty easy to deal with the 7 Association group. And the support passive, the passive speed deals more damage based on the target's rupture when attacking the damage type they're weak to, and further increased damage with the 7 Association picture. Simple enough, I'd say. Yeah, overall, not as heavy into rupture as Heathcliff is, but definitely some very interesting damage dealing potential. Just overall. Well, very interesting units. I kind of like how they sound. We're just definitely for Faust especially, we're going to need to see what these numbers end up being for this, like, increased coin power, stuff like that. But yeah. But then moving on, we've gotten some news on how Refraction Railway 2 is going to work, how it's going to differ from Refraction Railway 1. Now, do keep in mind, this is releasing the week after this update, so it is not this week where we're going to be getting Refraction Railway 2, but they've still given us some various information just to tide us over, so we learned some stuff about what they're doing. And a lot of this is not set in stone yet, it is still a week away, and there's probably going to be a lot of changes still. So requirements, Clear Main Story 3-22, you don't need to beat Canto 4, you just need to beat Canto 3, that's good. Probably means it'll be in a similar spot to Refraction Railway 1 then. and you'll face 9 highly difficult encounters over the event period. So they're just straight up telling us the amount of fights straight on, and they'll talk more about this later on. If you've achieved certain conditions at the time of final stage completion, you'll be rewarded with a special decorative banner. Now, they're saying certain conditions instead of saying certain turn counts. They're making it sound like there is another gimmick to it in this time, and it's not necessarily about the speed, but we'll see. But then probably the best part about this, Refraction Railway Line 2 will end with the start of Refraction Railway Line 3. So that means it's not going to end until there's another Refraction Railway in its place, which is very good. It was kind of stupid how there was just nothing there for several months in the Refraction Railway spot, when they could have just kept Refraction Railway 1 ongoing or something like that. So now, this above image is shown for demonstration purposes, but it shows basically the gimmick. So 9 high difficulty encounters, there's 8 station, and then there's the 9th terminal station in the center. So effectively, you can keep on looping around the outside for as long as you want. You'll be gaining certain benefits for doing so. And upon completing your first revolution, they call it, you'll be able to access the center one. However, you can just keep on going around for certain benefits that it didn't specify. Now, similar to Refraction Railway 1, you need to spend a certain amount of modules as a one-time fee to gain any of the rewards from the Lost and Found for Refraction Railway Line 2. And of course, when you enter, you choose all your identities and egos. You can't change them midway through, and you also are completely unable to change them by, say, leveling them up outside. So combat details, all encounters are focus encounters, similar to Refraction Railway 1, similar enough stuff. Maximum of 7 sinners may enter an encounter. But notice, although you may do so with fewer than 7 sinners, they will not gain additional skill slots. So you can't say only bring 6 sinners, but have, say, Aero Corp Heathcliff be selected first so he gains more skill slots. You're not supposed to do that for this one. Basically, if you cannot solo this one. That's what they're basically saying. If you try soloing, you'll be stuck with a single skill slot. I'm sure it's doable, but it's awful. And this is assumably just to prevent them from... You're going to notice there's a lot of stuff in this one that are just trying to prevent Rabbit Heathcliff from being too busted. Which I think is definitely fair enough. And we'll see a lot of those later on. Basically, it's just kind of saying, like, roughly that entire same thing the rest of this page. They're saying that they think it's going to be more enjoyable, which I think makes sense. Of course, whenever any damage you're taking, any resources you have, all that stuff is carried over to the subsequent encounters. Now, the interesting thing here is the fact that speed is carried over. Which is a very strange thing to say. Skills on the dashboard use skills identified entities. That stuff carries over. So basically, if you say save your skill 3 and don't use it in a single fight, next fight you can start with your skill 3. Which means you could, like, say, prep for the next fight with Rabbit Heathcliff. But then speed... I assume it means, like, haste or something? I assume that's what it means. It's hard to say, though, because, like, your speed would normally carry over. Unless you get one speed value and that's just what you're stuck at. But then, you can tell what it is saying exactly with the next part. Your identity's HP, SP speed, skill and dashboard use skills, and enemy speed does not change upon restarting a stage. So you can't spam restart until you get, like, the perfect, like, start where you can just go for a quick suppression, kill the boss, like, as soon as possible. You can't do that restart strategy. You're stuck with whatever you get randomly. Which means there might just be some sort of fixed RNG for this. I don't know, though. It sounds like that might be the case, but at the same time that would still be very strange, just being able to, like, keep on retrying a thing and doing certain skills, being able to get heads with stuff that you wouldn't normally get heads with just because that's how the RNG is set. So I'm not sure about that. But yeah, so now that's just gonna kind of make it so there's gonna be a little more playing the game and a little less spamming restarting for Rabbit Heathcliff benefits. Upon defeat, you may revert to the stage immediately before entering the stage or continue with the remaining IDs, so you can always just let everyone who died for some reason. Of course, big benefit to this is your enemy's HP will not recover. So you could just kind of, if you're staying on the final boss and, like, you've got a full wipe, instead of restarting, you could just send the remaining 5 sinners you have in there just to finish them off. possibly, but we'll see. And of course, once again, you can't change it into your ego loadout once the railway started. Above images for demonstration. Total turns spent before reaching the current stage will be displayed on top of the screen. Whenever you fully complete all 8 stations in a single revolution, you gain 1 revolution count and return to the first stage. You'll get a single beneficial effect for your allies at the end of every revolution. Now, it's not saying what this is, but it's safe to say it might end up being some ego gifts or something like that. The effect selected in the revolution immediately before this one cannot be selected. Although that does make it sound like it's stackable things. Maybe you can get like, oh, maybe lust skills gain 1 power. Maybe you could get something that makes it so you heal whenever you kill an enemy. Stuff like that. That's what it sounds like. It's not giving you a sense of what it is exactly. But there is a downside. You'll be offered to choose a single beneficial effect for your enemies every resolution too. So, you're going to get stronger with every resolution, but the enemies will. However, you get to choose how you get stronger and how the enemies get stronger. So you can kind of customize their strength to your own playstyle, possibly. And if someone dies, they're not doomed. Every 5 revolutions, you can bring someone back. So if you kind of have some bad deaths early on but want to keep on pushing forwards because you've got good time, you sure can. 9th terminal opens after completing your first revolution, and your records will be upgraded after completing the 9th station. Once again, rewards cost a set amount of Enkephalin boxes. Once you spend that, you'll be able to get all of them. Special rewards include level boost ticket 3 to instantly get 2 level 30, season 2 guaranteed 3-star ticket, and some Refraction Railway 2 themed business card decorations. Alright. Stats are recorded upon clearing 9th terminal. You can view your own records. Higher revolution count, the higher the ranking. And that's basically all. There's what the banners look like. Very fancy. Or I guess it's not finalized, but that's what their work in progress banners look like. And if you manage to earn the special one before Season 2 ends, you get a special little benefit. So you're on a little bit of time limit if you want to get the fanciest one, but nothing too big. Because you still have, like, quite a few months. But that's all on Refraction Railway 2, so let's move on to the actual patch notes now. So, September 7th scheduled update notice, taking place at the normal time. Update contents, the 2 new 7 association identities, and also a target extraction for Don Quixote. Not a bad time for target extraction for Don Quixote. If you don't have W Corp Don, definitely consider going for W Corp Don and Telepol Don, because they're very useful for the sake of, like, running them and, like, Ishmael, or Reindeer Ishmael, and possibly even, like, Warp Ryoshu all together. They've all got pretty strong charge-based skills, so you can get Telepol off, you can get a lot of strong skills off. Definitely very good for quick kills, so definitely consider pulling on target section Don Quixote if you don't have either of those. And attendance check. So for the next a little over a month, every day you check in, you'll kind of get one. It doesn't say if you'll gain greater rewards over the end period. So you'll probably gain some rewards, maybe not every day, maybe every couple days. But you'll gain rewards, and the major rewards are, of course, after 2 weeks of daily attendances, you gain Molar Office Yisong, and after 4 weeks, you gain Molar Office Otis. This might mean they're going to be added into the game already with this update, or maybe they're, like, physically inaccessible. You might be able to see what they do this update, but if not, you might have to wait 2 weeks just to be able to actually see them in-game, and then 4 weeks to see Otis in-game. Either ways. Once the event delivery reward cannot be claimed, but like most seasonal event identities, there will be another way to get them later down the line, although it's still not decided exactly how that'll be. Customizable loadout names. I'm very excited for this. I have very little bother with loadouts because of the fact I don't have a way to differentiate them. But now you can see you can put little, like, custom, like, tags onto your actual teams there in order to get a good sense as to, what each team is, be able to sort them a little better, just to make it better than just, oh, Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, and so on. Very good change. Some other major changes, Limbus path extended by roughly a month, so now it's around mid-November. Interesting time for Season 2 to end, because that's like a couple days before Project Moon's 7th anniversary. So maybe there might do something special for that, who knows. Package prices adjusted, this doesn't matter if you play in English, I guess. This only matters for people in Korea and Japan, changing prices and stuff to kind of standardize costs. Aero Changes, so now your one-sided attacks are blue, enemy one-sided attacks are red, and clashes are yellow. Definitely a lot more straightforward and similar to Ruina, so you can read it a little better. Set of bug fix changes, and your normal lunacy. That's all for this week's update stuff. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode, or next video. This isn't an episode. I'm so used to doing daily mirror dungeons, but yeah. Bye.